We are going to be chatting about how I prepared for a 12-week maternity leave, and I'm really excited to talk about this because my first maternity leave was not like this at all, and this maternity leave is going to be a lot different in a good way. So just to kind of give you some context here, with my first baby, I had her in 2019, and I had just gotten into the online course business, didn't really know what I was doing. I had opened my first course that summer of 2019 before I had her. I don't even say I launched it because it wasn't a launch. I didn't know what I was doing. But then I really was determined to stay home with her for longer than a year, which motivated me to learn everything I could about courses, even while caring for a newborn at home by myself. My husband was still working full time. So it was being a stay-at-home mom with a newborn and figuring out how to grow my business. And honestly, I don't look back at that time and think, man, like I missed the newborn phase, because I was still with her and I was mainly working during nap times or, when I was nursing or whenever I could. But I had to do all of that hustling to get to where I am now. And so I'm so thankful for that time. And luckily, she was a great baby. She was a great sleeper. So I know that I was really blessed in that aspect and lucky. I know not everyone has that, but I really hustled. And if you're new to the course business game, or you're new to online business in general, I just want to say that you may not have a maternity leave like this right at the beginning. You're going to have to hustle some, and that's okay. The hustling is worth it when you get to have a maternity leave like I'm about to have. So let me talk about 5 things that myself and my team did to allow me to take a full 12 weeks off and literally not have to worry about work at all, but still bring in consistent income. So the first thing that we did is we planned all of the launches for 2024. So if you're listening to this, it's already 2024, but I am recording this before I go on maternity leave, which I will talk about. It's one of the things that we did. We batched content, and we sat down and said, okay, so I am due in December. So I plan to come back like the beginning of April. How is the rest of the year going to look as far as launches and flash sales and emails and things like that? So we planned that. And we also planned around the time that I was going to be gone. So we usually will do a big launch in March or the beginning of the year. So of course we're not going to do that because I'm going to be out. So how can we kind of make up for that? So we made a plan. How is next year going to look? And when are you going to come back? And when are we going to launch after you come back? So once I come back in April, very soon after that, we will be gearing up for a launch. But launches are a lot more chill now than they used to be when I was doing them all by myself, which leads me into number 2. What we did in 2023, the main thing that we did in my business was we made SOPs for everything. So I was still doing so much of the day-to-day admin little tasks in my business in 2023 at the beginning. And I talked about this in an earlier episode. I really wanted to make sure that my team could do everything that I was already doing. Like, there are only a certain amount of things in your business that only you can do. And the rest you should be able to train your team to do. And we actually have an episode coming up. I'm just looking at our calendar, coming up in 2 weeks, where I will be chatting with a great girl, Deb, who helped me really set up systems in my business. So I will save more of that for that episode. But I met her in France when I went to France back in April of 2023 with my business coach, Rachel Engholm, and I met with a bunch of other ladies there. And she is a systems strategist. So I hired her to do an overhaul of my business because I told her I was burnt out, and I felt like, even though I had this great income, I still was just doing too much, and I didn't have the space to dream or think about the future of the business because I was in the day-to-day tasks. So again, we'll talk about more of that in 2 weeks, but I went through everything that I did. I started writing down everything that I was doing on a day-to-day basis. And every time I would do something, I would video myself doing it. So when I was giving a refund, when I was answering a customer service email, when I was inside our community Facebook groups, for launches, there are so many things that go into the type of live launch that we do for my teacher business, which are challenges. And there were so many things that I was still doing that other people could do, like create a Facebook group or check emails or schedule emails. Other people can do that. I don't need to do that. But they didn't know how because I wasn't teaching them how. I had a lot of control issues because, when your business is your baby, you struggle to give away those little things because it makes you feel like you're in control and nothing is going to go wrong as long as you're doing it. But that was so not true. So I started recording everything that I did, and I would give it to my team members, and they would write what's called an SOP, a standard operating procedure, which is just like the written form of the video. And then I could assign it to a team member. Now, I don't have a huge team. I have 2 people on my team, and then we have a VA that's kind of does intermittent tasks. And once I started taking those things off my plate, it freed my brain up so much, and it made launches so much easier because I really just had to do the only thing that I could do, which is teach the content, be the content creator, be the brains behind the business. I don't need to be scheduling emails or answering customer service emails necessarily when they can do that. So that is probably the major thing we did in 2023 was everything that I was doing in the business. We videoed and we made SOPs for it, and then we assigned it. We distributed the tasks to other team members so I didn't have to do that. Now, if you don't have a team, of course you can't do that yet, but I will say go ahead and start videoing yourself now so that when you're ready to make a hire, which is actually what we're going to be talking about next week, you already have a head start. You'll probably make a virtual assistant hire first. And if you already have videoed yourself doing some of those little tasks, then you can say, hey, watch this video. Let me know if you have any questions. Try it, and then I'll check it, or we can do it together. And then this will be your task moving forward. So the earlier you can start that, the better. I didn't start that until 4 years into my business, and I was so overwhelmed and so burnt out. So I'm so glad that we did that this year. So because we have SOPs for everything, then there's not a lot that my team can't do without me. So while I'm taking this 12-week leave, they know how to do things, or if they forget, they can go watch the video that I made, and it makes it just a lot easier. Okay, now, those are the day-to-day admin tasks, but how am I actually making money while I'm gone? So that is number 3. This year, we set up evergreen funnels for both of my programs. And I've talked about evergreen on the podcast before, but evergreen means you set up a system where your course is selling all the time, not just during live launches. So we set up those funnels. And a funnel just means that someone finds you on the internet some way. Maybe it's through a Facebook ad, maybe it's through Instagram, and they sign up for this free thing. Usually with an evergreen funnel, it's a training or a webinar or a masterclass. There's lots of names for it. It's like a 30 to 45 minute training where you show them what's possible with your course, and then you sell the course, and then they get an automated email sequence, and then they buy or they don't buy. That's a funnel. It's just how someone starts from not being a customer to being a customer. So we set those up for my teacher program and for my online course business program, Hey Online Course. And we tracked the data and we tweaked it. So every week we would track data, and every week we would make small tweaks to see if that improved our conversion rate. And once we felt good about those, then we can just leave those running while I'm gone. And so then I trained one of my team members to check the data herself every week. We track it in Airtable, which is just like a spreadsheet software. And as long as we're making money, then I'm fine. As long as we are not losing money, but we're making money, I'm fine. And the reason we could be losing money is because I use Facebook ads. You don't have to use Facebook ads, but it just gets your training to more people. And, I'm not going to be on Instagram every day during maternity leave. So that allows people to still find me, even though I'm not actually on my phone or working. And as long as I am making more than I'm spending on Facebook ads, I'm good. If something starts to look weird, or, if ad costs go up or something, then she'll let me know. And if I need to adjust something during maternity leave, I can. But because we have tracked it so long and we see that it's going really well, I don't suspect that's going to happen. But if it does, it's okay. And that'll just be like, maybe an hour during maternity leave, and I'm fine with that. So that's number 3. We created evergreen funnels and we tracked them. And then I taught my team member to track them and then let me know if anything looks off. Okay. Now, number 4, I am batching content. This video is actually, or this podcast, whichever one you're watching on, podcast or YouTube, is batched. So I batched all of my podcast episodes through maternity leave. And it wasn't that hard for me because my episodes are short and they're to the point. So I would just do 1 a day. Sometimes I could knock out 2 a day. And I went ahead and did all of them through April so that I wouldn't have to worry about podcast episodes while I was gone. Now, I will probably miss it and I may start back once I am, kind of feeling better, but you never know how it's going to go with a baby, right? Like I could have a really colicky baby, or maybe he's not going to sleep at all. And I just wanted to have that safety net so that if I didn't feel like working or I literally couldn't work, then I still have that organic content batched. So if you're thinking about batching for something, maybe you just want to batch for, a couple months off, I would just choose one form of organic content to batch. I wouldn't worry about social media, honestly. I would choose a form of long form content to batch. So YouTube, podcast, or blogging, and batch that. And then people can still find that even after you've recorded it. So people could find this podcast episode, for instance, a year from now, 2 years from now. And that's going to continually bring in new faces, new traffic to your business. So that was number 4. And then the last thing that I did to prepare for a 12-week maternity leave is I said no a lot. So in the beginning of my business, I never said no. I did every virtual conference, every lead magnet bundle, every bonus video for other people's courses, trainings, whatever, podcasts. I did it all because I was hustling in the beginning, and that was fine. It was totally fine. It helped me grow a lot. But for this, I knew I had certain things I wanted to focus on. I wanted to focus on getting all of my SOPs written and done, batching my podcast episodes, and tracking my funnels so that I was still making money. So I didn't have a lot of free time to be doing virtual conferences or speaking, for other people's audiences. So when people asked me that, I usually said no. I would say, no, sorry, I'm gearing up for maternity leave. Keep me in mind for, April of 2024 so that I'm not like cutting off that relationship. And hopefully they'll ask me again. But I just want to focus on being intentional and focus on what matters to allow me to have this break that I so desperately want and need. So just to kind of recap, I made a calendar with my team member for all of the launches and flash sales or whatever that we're going to have next year, 2024, this year if you're listening now. And I planned around my maternity leave. Then I made SOPs for everything, meaning anytime I did something in my business, I videoed myself doing it and then we wrote down the steps. In Google Docs is where we do it. I created evergreen funnels for both of my programs. I tracked the data to make sure that they were converting well, and I improved on the funnels throughout the year. Number 4, I batched my one main form of content, which is a podcast, and we repurposed the podcast on YouTube. You may be watching it on YouTube now. We also repurpose it as a blog. So that's like 3 forms of content right there. And then my team member actually puts clips on Instagram. So that's another form. So if you have one main form of content, it's easier to repurpose. And you don't have to repurpose right then. You can repurpose after the fact, or maybe you hire a VA and that's their job to repurpose it. And then number 5, I said no a lot so that I can focus on being intentional and getting the things done that I need to get done so that I am consistently making money and consistently putting out some type of content to bring in more people, help more people, even while I am at home snuggling with my baby. So I hope that is super helpful for you as you're gearing up for any type of break in your business.